And that remains something that the the US military has never managed to swallow. So this is something the Americans know, that the Israeli are very keen to ask for support, but they are not ready to support the US. This is for the Israeli interest, but not the Israeli are not working for US interest. So it's a one-way street, period, and everybody knows that. And for that reason, nobody sees. I mean, nobody. Certainly, politicians do, but military don't see an appetite to engage in such kind of conflict. So we are in such a situation, and when we talk about the idea, and we see that the US, by the way, it makes every effort to discourage Israel to attack Hezbollah, for instance, and of course Iran, because they know that if it goes in such a conflict, I mean, Israel was not able to solve the situation in Gaza. And Gaza is a very tiny territory with almost no logistical depth, with limited resources and all that. What will happen if Israel attacks South Lebanon? I mean, it didn't happen. It didn't come out well in 2006. And I don't see that it would go better this time. I mean, I would even suggest that if Israel would attack southern Lebanon today, it would be worse than 2006. And in addition to that, Israel is fighting on three fronts now. They have Gaza, of course. They have this front with the Houthi, which is a more strategic level, if you want. But they have also this front with West Bank that they recently opened. Now, opening a fourth front is, in my view, in my opinion, an extremely dangerous path for Israel. So we see that within the and you mentioned the new defense minister, who I'm not sure he was appointed. I haven't seen it was appointed, but nevertheless, Israel needs a replacement for Yoav Gallant. But we see that within the military establishment, there is a strong resistance against Netanyahu. This resistance is probably not an ideological one, because my view is that by and large, Netanyahu, as it regards to the policy towards Palestinians, Netanyahu has a large popular support. And we see that, I mean, the general population in Israel is not against what the Israeli army has done in Gaza. But they are addressing the strategy to, especially when it comes to the so-called hostages or prisoner of war, depending. That's the problem, more than the strategy towards the Palestinians. And here you have different views within the military as how we should proceed with that. So the problem is not the end goal, because I think again, by and large, the Israeli population is not ready to share their territory with the Palestinians. And I think that remains that way, even if some individuals probably think that we should not do that with extreme violence. Probably we should do that progressively. But at the end of the day, they think that Israel should have the territory from the Mediterranean to the Jordan River. I think that's something which is commonly admitted in Israel, and they don't want to share this territory with Palestinians. I think that's probably widely supported in Israel, with few exceptions. But the problem is more the how than the what, and that's where you have this diverging opinion between the political leadership and the military leadership. It's about the how, not about the what. And and that's the reason why I don't see in the long run any appeasement in the situation. The problem is the short to mid term, because the short to mid terms address precisely the how. And that's also why I think that the more the time goes, the more we are missing a judgment from the International Court of Justice, because this would then help the European countries, probably the US as well, but especially the European countries, to clarify their position towards Israel. And also their position, not just towards Israel, but also in order to advise Israel. Because the problem is that Israel is implementing its policy without having any, let's say, contradictory opinion, if you want. Nobody comes and say, well, we continue to deliver weapons, but you have to adjust your policy. Nobody says so. And that's what, in my view, Israel now would need in order to adjust its policy to something more realistic and to something that allows for a substantial dialogue with Palestinians. And not just about a ceasefire. I mean, we have to definitely to go much further. And since the International Court of Justice is waiting for providing its judgment, final judgment, in Europe, nobody dares to address Israel or to counter Israel's policy. And that's why I think at this stage, the ICJ is key in helping Western European countries to define their posture towards Israel, and probably even towards the Palestinians. Although I think most Western European countries are not very favorable to Palestinians, to be honest. They just want to be involved in some kind of genocide. That's what they are afraid of. But they are not. You see that in most countries, you have now very strong movements against Muslim immigration, because it's not just immigration, it's about